Now the music to the ears, which is saving in terms of a large tax cut. So, friends, you must know now that there are two tax regimes. One is old tax regime. Now I'm talking about for individual and NGOs. Uh, Corporate tax, there is no change. So we are not even discussing any changes in respect to corporate tax. In terms of individuals, of course, you have two tax regime. One is old tax regime. Yeah. So old tax regime, there is no change. And as you know that when the new tax regime was introduced, the government has clearly shown their intention that slowly they want people to move from old to new. So in new there was a larger income tax slab and lower rate of tax, but they don't allow any reduction or allowance except very minor one in the new one. Why? Because they, as per the scrutiny and as per the records, they found that many people are claiming wrong deduction or exemption, and it just create a lot of burden on checking from the departmental side, and also to claim also for employee they need to submit a lot of proof. So to encourage people not to claim reduction and exemption, and at the same time that corresponding benefit is given in terms of lowering the tax rate. So that is why the new tax regime. uh, as per the government data, and even at our level also, we have seen till last year about 60 to 70% people are better off in new tax regime. And with this kind of benefit which is given in this budget, I'm sure this will go more than 90%. So probably more than 90% people will now opt for the new tax regime. So if you see on the right hand side this table, again I'm saying this is only new tax regime. So this slab rate which was starting from 3 lakhs is starting now from 4 lakh, and every it has been added 1 lakh each. So 3 to 7 becomes 4 to 8. 7 to 10 becomes 8 to 12. 10 to 12 become 12 to 16. And 12 to 15 now becomes 16 to 20. And till last year it was 15 lakhs. Above, if you go, it's 30%. Now, if you go above 24 lakh, then only 30%. So, if you calculate the tax saving, it's been very high. The exact tax saving, as I said, if you that also will come. But if you're a salaried person, then this 12 lakh become 12 lakh 75,000 because of standard deduction given in the new regime of 75,000. And under old regime, it is still 50,000. So if there is a salaried person having 12 lakh 75,000, there is no tax. Okay, one more interesting thing to be noted here is that this, tax reduction and everything is by way of tax rebate under Section 87A. So when you give a tax rebate, they don't allow other income which is subject to special rate of tax, like capital gains are not covered. So suppose if you have a salary of 10 lakhs and capital gain of 10 lakhs, then your salary 10 lakhs will become exempt due to the new tax regime. But your entire 10 lakhs of capital gain will be subject to the normal tax. Like if it is long term, then something else, and the short term, there is 20%. So that way, those special rate of tax income are not covered under this rebate. So that you must bear in mind. Okay, a person can claim the following deduction still under the new tax regime, which is So suppose if you have a house property which has been let out and the interest on the entire loan will be still be allowable as a deduction. And under new tax regime also, if there is an employer contribution to NPS up to 14% of basic salary is allowed, you can still take the deduction of that. Okay, now there was a question that okay, 12 lakhs there is no tax, but once you cross 12 lakhs, and even if you cross 1,000 or 5,000, there was a tax of say 60,000 because your if you see the slab is still there. From 4 lakh it is starting. That reduction is by way of rebate. So there is a concept of marginal tax relief in under income tax, wherein they said that you cannot be worse off due to additional income. What it means that by just adding 10,000 rupees, you cannot be subject to payment of tax of 60,000. So what they've done, so if your income is increasing till your tax become neutral, it will be a tax neutral thing. So if you see this table, up to 12 lakhs 70,000, there is a only 500 rupees different, and exactly at this point, 71,250, it becomes tax neutral. And this is of course before standard deduction. So I'm sure I think you got this concept of marginal tax relief. Okay, this is where it is, old versus new. The red sign is something saving for you. As I say, 1,10,000 for 25 lakh of rupees, which is quite substantial. And now we comes to the question, which one is beneficial to me, whether it is old tax regime or new tax regime. So this table will give you an idea. So this break-even deduction, or you can say deciding factor. So if your deduction is this, this is a deciding factor. So suppose your income is say 10 lakhs and your deduction is 4,50,000. This is a break-even point. So with 10 lakhs of income and 4,50,000 deduction, you can either go for old or new. There is absolutely no changes. But in case of say 20 lakhs, say 7,08,000 is your deduction. So the moment you cross the deduction, your old become beneficial, and the moment you go down below this, then the new will be beneficial. So this is a kind of ready chart you can refer, and depending on your income and depending on your total deduction and allowance, which you can refer. I'm sure this is clear to you all guys. Okay, now we comes to the some points where government is saying that we are not in the business of unnecessarily tax collection, and then we want to refund, and that is why if you see that the tax TDS limit has been expanded. Interest on deposit for senior citizen is now 1 lakh, and for others from 40,000 to 50,000. And like that, there has been increase in various section, various kind of income. The one, the rent has been now 50,000 per month or part, which becomes 6 lakh per annum, which is currently 2.4 lakh annually. But here there is a catch, small catch. Previously it was 2.4 lakh annually. So annually you need to see that whether it crosses 2.4 lakh or not. But now you have to check monthly limit. So suppose you start paying rent in January. So January to March, maybe you're paying 1 lakh. It becomes only 3 lakhs. So if you calculate, it still becomes less than 6 lakh. But now the month you have to check the monthly limit. 1 lakh exceed 50,000, so still TDS will be applicable. So, all this small finer point you need to be aware of it. Professional fees has been increased by 20,000 in dividend. Yeah, there is one quite a good relief in terms of TCS. The 7 lakh limit has been increased to 10 lakhs. And for education purpose, if you are taking a loan, then there will be no TCS. Like that, there has been, saving in TCS for the medical reason also, and for any other foreign transaction. One very big relief was, when you are selling a goods and you are crossing some limits, there was a TDS also applicable as well as TCS applicable. So while the seller, the buyer was deducting TDS, the seller was also retaining TCS. On the same transaction, on the same value of goods, the two taxes were applicable. And that has, created unnecessarily double tax for the taxpayer. So seeing that now they remove this, and now no TCS will be there, only TDS will be there. The other big relief is in terms of when there is you're paying to someone and they have not filed returns for last 2 years, you need to deduct tax at a higher rates. Because higher rate of TDS was applicable to one such class of people, and second, where you don't have PAN. Now they remove this for the non-filer of income tax return. So now, as a tax deductor, you don't need to ask people whether you file return or not, because that was a burdensome for deductor to ask details from each and every vendors or each and every person that you show us whether you're filing return or not, and that's something the information flow was not uh, proper for the deductor. Realizing that they removed this, now they said only in case of non-PAN, the higher rate of TDS will be there. So all this, measures really shows that the government is simplifying various things and promoting ease of business. Yeah, there is one more good news for tax people, that self-occupied property, there was you can keep two, but there was a lot of condition to prove. One, of course, where you reside is of course tax free. Second, second property, but if you are not able to occupy due to various reason of employment or business which is in a different city, all this you need to prove. Now that burden of proof is removed. Now they say that up to two property, no question asked. On the second property, we will not tax you. So you can keep two properties without any kind of annual income. Of course, if it is rented, then rent income will be shown. But if it's not rented, then there is no tax further on that. So this is going to spur the real estate activity in tier two, tier three cities, or the one where say people from other parts of country, they are coming into Mumbai and staying here, and they have a property in Mumbai also, and they have a property in native place also. Now they can keep both the properties without consideration of any tax. Okay, this is the trust factor now, as I was talking about the updated return, the right hand side. See, budget 2022 has introduced the facility of updating your return. Where if you find that you have missed some income, or you're not shown that income in your original or revised return, then the updating of return facility was available till 2 years. Of course, with higher tax. But that was still beneficial if you really miss that, because if you miss this and if the tax department will catch you, the penalty was running up to 200%. So after introduction and of course, after unearthing some kind of a transaction which are not in a best of way, like donation to political parties and other things. Uh, People have come forward and they have filed updated return and they have paid the tax also. So, as per the data, about 90 lakhs taxpayers have voluntarily updated their income tax return by paying additional tax. So, seeing such a huge response, now they are extending this window from 2 years to 4 years. So, instead of 2 years, you can now go back to 4 years, up to 4 years, and you pay the additional tax. What is the additional tax? Suppose if you are filing within 12 months, then you have to pay 25% of the additional tax and interest, of course. If it is within 24 months, then 50%. If it is within 36 months, 60% of tax, and up to within 48 months, 70%. Now, one may say that, what's the point in paying 70% additional tax? But this is still lower than 200% if they caught you. So I'm sure it's a kind of opportunity for someone who has really missed something in their tax return and now wants to make it good for that. Yeah, now we come to the losses provision, where in case of amalgamation of two companies, the successor entity was allowed to carry forward the losses of the predecessor entity for ease of understanding. Predecessor one where it got amalgamated, and the successor entity is the one who is surviving entity. They can carry forward that losses up to 8 years from it was first computed. So there was a lot of, like, suppose the predecessor entity has incurred losses 4 years back, but now computed here. So the 8 years starting from this year. So that way, the tax department was losing the revenue because 4 plus 8, ultimately they were giving benefit for 12 years. So to cut down, that anomaly, now they said that the 8 years to be counted from the year in which the loss was incurred. It's a very rationalized clarification, I would say. Yeah, again, the trust factor shown by the government that various prosecution under TDS default has been decriminalized. I'm not going deep into it, but there has been technical fault, like you forgot to deduct TDS, but ultimately the government would have got the money tax on that. So honestly, there has been one or two such instances which has been published also, where for a small minor fault, somebody has to go behind the bar. So to to cut down and showing the message that we don't want to unnecessarily harass the taxpayers, they have decriminalized a lot of provisions regarding prosecution, TDS and TCS as well. Okay, now we comes to startup benefits. So as you know that every year the government is extending this eligible startup tax benefit. So every budget comes and every time there's a provision. Every budget comes, there's every time a provision. Now government says I don't want to do it annually. I'm giving you straight away 5 years tax benefit in terms like if you are incorporating a company which is an eligible startup now till 1st April 2030. So this section is going to be there till 1st April 2030. So if you are a company and having an eligible startup certificate, you can claim 80 ISC tax exemption for a period of 3 years.